The later years of Henry II and his legacy. The later years of Henry II of England's reign stand as a profound study in the interplay between personal decline and political disintegration. Characterized by the king's deteriorating health, escalating familial betrayal, and strategic defeats, this period provides a crucial lens for understanding the multifaceted challenges that defined the Angevin dynasty. His death at Chinon in 1189 not only closed the chapter on a reign of extraordinary administrative and military innovation but also heralded a new and turbulent era for his successors. Let's examine the nuanced dynamics of Henry's waning authority, his ultimate defeat by his son Richard and Philip II of France, and the significant ramifications of his death for the medieval European political landscape. The decline of health and the fractured dynasty. By the mid-1180s, the physical vitality that had once defined Henry II's reign was visibly waning. Chronic conditions, likely including advanced arthritis and recurring intestinal ailments, compounded by the unrelenting demands of governance and military campaigning, rendered the king increasingly incapacitated. This physical decline coincided with an intensification of familial discord, as Henry's sons openly pursued their own ambitions at the expense of their father's authority. This convergence of personal and dynastic crises underscored the fragility of the Angevin Empire. While tensions within the royal family were not new, they reached their zenith during this period. The Great Revolt of 1173 to 1174, led by Henry the Young King, Richard, and Geoffrey, had already fractured the royal household, and the death of the young king in 1183 did little to restore equilibrium. Instead, Richard, Duke of Aquitaine, emerged as the most prominent challenger to Henry's authority. A critical source of tension arose from Henry's insistence that Richard relinquish Aquitaine to his younger brother John, a demand that Richard categorically rejected. The king's inability to enforce his will deepened the rift between father and son, setting the stage for a broader conflict that would encompass the entire Angevin dominion. The stakes of these familial betrayals were immense, given the vast territorial span of the Angevin Empire. Extending from England to the Pyrenees, the empire's cohesion relied on the active cooperation of its constituent rulers, especially Henry's sons. However, the brothers were more interested in consolidating their own power than in upholding their father's vision of unity. Geoffrey's death in 1186 removed one rival from the equation but heightened the animosity between Richard and John. Henry's evident favoritism toward John further alienated Richard, driving him into a politically advantageous alliance with Philip II of France. Henry's declining health exacerbated these tensions. Reports from chroniclers emphasize that his physical ailments left him increasingly reliant on his advisors and weakened his capacity for direct leadership. The once formidable ruler who had dominated European politics now appeared vulnerable, a factor that emboldened his adversaries both within and outside his family. His diminishing physical resilience mirrored the unraveling of his political authority, creating a feedback loop in which personal frailty and political instability reinforced one another. The ascendancy of Philip II and the collapse of Henry's power. Philip II of France emerged as a pivotal figure in the final unraveling of Henry II's authority. A calculating and ambitious monarch, Philip Adept exploited the divisions within the Angevin family to destabilize Henry's control. His partnership with Richard proved particularly consequential, as it combined Philip's strategic acumen with Richard's military prowess to devastating effect. Together, they launched a sustained campaign to undermine Henry's territorial holdings and diminish his prestige. The climactic phase of this conflict occurred in 1189. Besieged by illness and despair, Henry confronted a formidable coalition led by Richard and Philip. The fall of Le Mans, a city intimately tied to Henry's early life and symbolic of his rule, marked a critical moment in this campaign. Richard's forces, bolstered by Philip's resources, captured the city, forcing Henry into a humiliating retreat. This defeat not only weakened Henry militarily but also dealt a profound psychological blow, as he grappled with the erosion of his authority and the loyalty of his subjects. The Treaty of Azala-Rideau, signed in July 1189, formalized Henry's capitulation. Its terms were starkly humiliating. Henry was compelled to recognize Richard as his heir and cede significant concessions to Philip. The most devastating revelation, however, came when Henry learned that John, his previously trusted son, had also joined the rebellion against him. This ultimate betrayal reportedly shattered the king's spirit, prompting his lament, "Now let all things go as they will, I care no more for myself or for the world." Henry's concessions under the treaty represented more than the loss of territory, they signaled the dissolution of his authority as a monarch. The Angevin Empire, so painstakingly constructed over decades, was now fragmenting under the weight of internal discord and external pressure. This disintegration underscored the ephemeral nature of medieval empire building, where personal relationships and military might were often the only glue holding vast realms together. Death at Chinon and the aftermath. Following his defeat, Henry withdrew to Chinon, a fortress in Anjou, where his health deteriorated rapidly. Suffering from what modern historians suggest was a combination of sepsis and heart failure, the king's final days were marked by acute physical pain and emotional torment. Chroniclers recount that he died cursing his sons, particularly Richard, whom he blamed for orchestrating his downfall. On July 6, 1189, Henry II succumbed to his illnesses at the age of 56. The atmosphere at Chinon in Henry's final days was one of profound desolation. Reports describe a monarch physically ravaged and emotionally broken, isolated from the familial bonds that had once formed the core of his empire. His death was witnessed by only a handful of loyal attendants, a stark contrast to the grandeur that had characterized his earlier reign. This lonely demise symbolized the ultimate cost of the betrayals and conflicts that had defined his later years. Henry's death left a significant void in the political landscape of medieval Europe. Richard I ascended to the throne, but the empire he inherited was deeply fractured. Years of internal strife and external pressures had eroded the cohesion of the Angevin territories, and Richard's reign, while marked by military exploits, did little to restore stability. The Angevin Empire's gradual disintegration accelerated under subsequent rulers, culminating in the eventual loss of many continental holdings. Henry's death also shifted the balance of power in favor of Philip II. By systematically weakening the Angevin dynasty, Philip positioned France to pursue greater centralization and territorial expansion. This realignment of power would have profound implications for the future of both England and France, setting the stage for centuries of rivalry. Philip's success in undermining the Angevin Empire highlighted the strategic importance of exploiting internal divisions within rival dynasties, a lesson that would echo through European history. Historical interpretation and legacy. The twilight years of Henry II's reign epitomized the inherent vulnerabilities of medieval kingship, where personal relationships and political imperatives were often at odds. Henry's legacy as a lawgiver and administrator is undeniable. His reforms laid the foundation for many aspects of English governance. However, his inability to reconcile with his sons and his underestimation of Philip II's ambitions ultimately undermined his achievements. Scholars have long debated the extent to which Henry's decline was a product of his personal failings versus the structural challenges of the Angevin Empire. Some argue that the empire's sheer size and diversity rendered it inherently unstable, while others contend that Henry's favoritism and failure to establish clear lines of succession exacerbated existing tensions. Regardless of the precise causes, Henry's downfall illustrates the precarious nature of power in a world governed by shifting alliances and familial rivalries. In sum, the later years of Henry II's reign and his eventual death at Chinon stand as a poignant reminder of the complexities of medieval rule. His reign, though marked by extraordinary accomplishments, underscores the limits of authority and the enduring costs of political ambition in a volatile and unforgiving era. The trajectory of his later years, from his declining health and familial betrayals to his ultimate defeat, continues to resonate as a testament to the fragility of even the most formidable empires and the profound interplay between personal and political vulnerabilities. Henry II's legacy, influence, legal reforms, and historiographical interpretations. Henry II of England, the inaugural Plantagenet king, ruled from 1154 to 1189, ushering in a period of profound transformation in English governance and law. His reign established enduring patterns of kingship that shaped the monarchy for generations. Renowned for his legal innovations, centralization of authority, and formidable political acumen, Henry II's legacy remains a subject of intense scholarly scrutiny. Let us examine in more depth his influence on subsequent English monarchs, the far-reaching implications of his legal reforms, and historiographical interpretations of his reign, emphasizing the interplay between his substantial achievements and personal shortcomings. In analyzing his legacy, one must appreciate both the durability of his institutional changes and the challenges posed by his personal and political relationships, which collectively reveal the complexity of his kingship. Influence on subsequent English kings. Henry II's sons, Richard I and John, inherited not only the vast Angevin Empire but also the complex challenges and institutional frameworks he created. Their divergent reigns illuminate the strengths and limitations of Henry's political and administrative legacy, offering lessons in the precarious balance between centralized authority and the need for political flexibility. Richard I, warrior king and custodian of empire. Richard I, celebrated as the Lionheart, exemplified the martial and administrative legacies of his father. Henry's efforts to consolidate the Angevin Empire laid the groundwork for Richard's ambitious military campaigns, particularly the Third Crusade. Henry's establishment of a robust administrative system, including a centralized treasury and an itinerant judiciary, ensured the empire's stability during Richard's prolonged absences. Indeed, Henry's financial systems funded the immense costs of Richard's crusading efforts, highlighting the enduring utility of his fiscal policies. Nonetheless, Richard's reliance on Henry's administrative structures exposed their limitations. His prioritization of military exploits, financed through heavy taxation, strained relations with his subjects and destabilized the empire's internal cohesion. This tension underscores the precarious balance between central authority and local governance that Henry had skillfully managed. While Richard's military successes elevated the prestige of the English crown, his inattention to domestic governance revealed the inherent vulnerability of Henry's imperial model when leadership prioritized external ventures over internal stability. John, the struggle to uphold a legacy. John's reign revealed the fragility of Henry's achievements when entrusted to a less adept monarch. While Henry had centralized royal authority, this often came at the expense of alienating key stakeholders such as the barons and clergy. John's autocratic tendencies and fiscal demands intensified these tensions, culminating in the baronial revolt and the issuance of Magna Carta in 1215. This pivotal document, while often viewed as a repudiation of royal overreach, relied heavily on the procedural and administrative systems Henry had established. The geopolitical vulnerabilities of the Angevin Empire, which Henry had maintained through personal dynamism and administrative innovations, became apparent under John. The loss of Normandy in 1204 exemplifies the structural weaknesses of an empire reliant on a strong central figure. Yet, John's dependence on Henry's legal and financial reforms highlights their enduring significance, even amidst political upheaval. The eventual institutionalization of Magna Carta's principles illustrates how Henry's reforms provided a framework for balancing monarchical power with emerging notions of accountability. Legal reforms and their impact on governance. Henry II's legal reforms represent one of his most enduring contributions, fundamentally transforming the administration of justice in England and influencing broader European legal traditions. These reforms laid the foundation for English common law and redefined the relationship between the monarchy and its subjects. Their longevity attests to their foundational role in shaping the English legal tradition and their adaptability to evolving political contexts. Centralization of justice. Driven by the need to consolidate royal authority, Henry implemented sweeping changes to standardize the judicial process. The Assize of Clarendon, 1166, and the Assize of Northampton, 1176, introduced systematic procedures for criminal justice, including the deployment of royal justices on circuit. These measures curtailed the power of feudal courts and extended the Crown's influence over legal adjudication. By doing so, Henry established a model of governance that prioritized centralized, impartial justice over localized, feudal arbitration. A pivotal innovation was the introduction of the jury system, initially as a mechanism for presenting accusations. Over time, this evolved into a cornerstone of English common law, emphasizing communal participation and procedural fairness. Henry's reforms marked a significant departure from traditional modes of trial, such as ordeal or combat, fostering a more rational and consistent legal framework. This innovation not only enhanced the accessibility of justice but also strengthened the Crown's role as the ultimate arbiter of disputes, embedding royal authority more deeply in local governance. Expansion of royal jurisdiction. Henry's reforms expanded royal jurisdiction at the expense of ecclesiastical and feudal courts. The Constitutions of Clarendon, 1164, sought to clarify the boundaries between secular and ecclesiastical authority, particularly in prosecuting criminal clerics. This effort, while inciting a protracted conflict with Thomas Becket, Archbishop of Canterbury, underscored Henry's commitment to asserting royal supremacy over legal matters. Though the controversy surrounding Becket's murder has overshadowed this initiative, the broader outcome was a more clearly defined scope of royal and ecclesiastical jurisdiction. The widespread use of writs, standardized legal instruments issued by the Crown, facilitated access to royal courts and generated significant revenue. Their popularity reflected the perception of royal courts as more impartial and efficient than feudal alternatives, further entrenching the Crown's role in governance. The writ system also exemplified Henry's pragmatic approach to governance, balancing the Crown's need for revenue with the provision of accessible justice. Influence beyond England. The impact of Henry's legal reforms extended beyond England, shaping governance in the Angevin territories and influencing continental legal traditions. His emphasis on record-keeping and systematic procedures resonated in European administrative practices. Furthermore, the principles of English common law, rooted in Henry's innovations, later informed the legal systems of former British colonies, including the United States, Canada, and India. These enduring legacies underscore the universality of Henry's legal principles and their adaptability to diverse contexts. Historiographical interpretations of Henry II. Henry II's reign has inspired a rich historiographical tradition, characterized by a dialectic between admiration for his achievements and critique of his personal flaws. Scholars continue to debate the extent to which his policies were driven by visionary reform versus pragmatic expediency. The evolution of historical interpretations reflects broader shifts in historiographical focus, from institutional histories to nuanced analyses of political and personal dynamics. Henry as a reformist monarch. Traditional historiography, informed by chroniclers such as William of Newburgh and Roger of Howden, often portrays Henry as a reformist monarch whose innovations in governance laid the groundwork for modern statecraft. Victorian historians, in particular, celebrated his centralization of authority and commitment to justice, casting him as a precursor to constitutional monarchy. This perspective emphasized his role as a forward-thinking statesman who reshaped the English monarchy into a more robust and centralized institution. Contemporary scholarship has nuanced this perspective, highlighting the pragmatic and sometimes coercive nature of Henry's reforms. For instance, the expansion of royal jurisdiction served not only to promote justice but also to consolidate power. Similarly, The revenue generated from legal processes underscores the fiscal motivations underlying his policies. While undeniably transformative, Henry's reforms were not entirely altruistic. Instead, they reflected a calculated strategy to enhance the Crown's authority while addressing the immediate challenges of governance. Personal flaws and political consequences. Henry's personal shortcomings, including his volatile temperament and contentious relationships with key figures, have significantly influenced interpretations of his reign. The murder of Thomas Becket in 1170, a consequence of Henry's aggressive approach to consolidating authority, remains a defining and controversial episode. While his direct culpability is debated, the incident highlighted the risks of his confrontational style and underscored the limitations of his political strategy. Henry's tumultuous relationships with his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine, and his sons further complicated his legacy. The revolt of 1173–74, in which his sons allied with Eleanor and foreign powers against him, exposed the vulnerabilities of his empire and underscored the personal dimension of his political challenges. This familial discord, while destabilizing, also reflected the inherent difficulties of maintaining cohesion within a dynastic empire as vast and diverse as the Angevin realm. The duality of Henry's legacy. Historians have grappled with the duality of Henry's legacy, a ruler whose achievements in governance and law were offset by his failures to maintain familial and political harmony. W. L. Warren's biography, Henry II, 1973, epitomizes this balanced approach, acknowledging both his administrative brilliance and his personal destructiveness. Subsequent scholarship has built on this foundation, exploring the interplay of innovation and conflict in his reign. By situating Henry's achievements within the broader context of medieval kingship, modern historians have deepened our understanding of the enduring impact of his rule. Recent studies have delved into the cultural and symbolic dimensions of Henry's kingship, examining his patronage of literature, use of royal imagery, and engagement with intellectual currents. These analyses enrich our understanding of his reign, situating his achievements within the broader context of medieval European monarchy. Moreover, the emphasis on symbolic representations of power reflects the evolving role of the monarchy as both a political and cultural institution during Henry's era. The life and reign of Henry II, one of England's most consequential and transformative monarchs, demand a nuanced exploration of themes that profoundly influenced the medieval period and shaped the trajectory of English and European history. This analysis synthesizes the principal themes of his life and rule, highlighting his enduring impact and the historical currents he navigated. The formative and defining themes of Henry II's life and reign. The restoration and consolidation of royal authority. Ascending to power during the turbulence following King Stephen's reign, Henry II faced the monumental task of restoring order and reasserting royal authority. His efforts to stabilize a fractured polity redefined the monarchy's role, emphasizing centralized governance and the crown's supremacy. Through calculated measures, Henry subdued rebellious barons, reclaimed royal lands, and reasserted control over castles, establishing a stable framework for governance. This restoration of authority not only brought cohesion to a fragmented realm but also set a precedent for the monarchy's ability to command loyalty and enforce law across diverse and far-reaching territories. The development of legal reforms. Henry II's reign marked a watershed moment in the evolution of the English legal system. By institutionalizing reforms through measures such as the Assizes of Clarendon, 1166, and Northampton, 1176, Henry laid the groundwork for what would become the common law tradition. These reforms standardized judicial procedures, expanded the reach of royal justice, and established enduring principles such as the use of juries and reliance on written records. By promoting uniformity and accessibility, Henry's legal innovations not only reinforced royal authority but also established mechanisms of accountability that continue to underpin legal systems globally. Conflict with the Church. The clash between Henry II and the Church, exemplified by his protracted conflict with Archbishop Thomas Becket, epitomizes the enduring struggle between secular and ecclesiastical power in medieval Europe. The Constitutions of Clarendon, 1164, symbolized Henry's attempt to curtail the Church's autonomy and assert royal jurisdiction over clerics. This confrontation culminated in Becket's martyrdom in 1170, a pivotal event that reshaped perceptions of the monarchy's relationship with spiritual authority. The broader implications of this conflict extended far beyond Henry's reign, influencing church-state relations and debates on governance throughout medieval Christendom. The Angevin Empire, a political and geopolitical achievement. Henry II's creation and administration of the Angevin Empire stand as a testament to his political acumen and strategic vision. Spanning territories from the Scottish border to the Pyrenees, the empire's unprecedented expanse posed unique challenges of governance. Henry's ability to navigate diverse legal traditions, cultures, and local power structures was unparalleled, though the empire's inherent instability made it difficult to sustain. The Angevin Empire's eventual fragmentation highlighted the limits of medieval kingship and territorial governance. Nonetheless, its legacy endures as a model of transnational administration and as a precursor to later imperial frameworks. Familial discord and dynastic challenges. Henry's personal life was defined by profound familial discord that mirrored the complexities of dynastic politics in the medieval period. His marriage to Eleanor of Aquitaine, a union of political and cultural significance, proved both a source of strength and division. The rebellion of his sons, Henry the Young King, Richard, Geoffrey, and John, against their father underscored the fragility of dynastic unity. These internal conflicts not only complicated Henry's efforts to consolidate power but also revealed the intricate balance between personal loyalty and institutional stability within medieval polities. Despite these challenges, Henry's endeavors secured the continuation of his lineage, though the transitions were often fraught with turmoil. Economic and administrative innovations. Henry II's reign was marked by significant advancements in economic management and administrative efficiency. By refining tax collection systems, standardizing coinage, and developing financial institutions such as the Exchequer, Henry strengthened the economic foundation of his realm. These innovations enabled the effective governance of a sprawling empire and established enduring standards for fiscal accountability and resource management. Such developments reflected Henry's commitment to modernizing the administrative machinery of medieval governance, setting a template for subsequent monarchs. The enduring impact of Henry II's governance. The legacy of Henry II extends far beyond the temporal boundaries of his reign, influencing legal, political, and cultural developments across Europe. His legal reforms laid the cornerstone for the common law tradition, which would serve as a foundational principle for constitutional governance. The emphasis on centralized authority and administrative competence during his reign provided a model for effective statecraft, inspiring future monarchs to adopt similar approaches. The Angevin Empire, despite its eventual dissolution, offered valuable insights into the possibilities and limitations of managing extensive and diverse territories. It prefigured later European empires and highlighted the importance of balancing local autonomy with centralized control. The cultural and political networks fostered by the Angevin realm enriched European civilization and underscored the interconnectedness of medieval polities. Henry's contentious relationship with the Church raised enduring questions about the balance of power between secular and spiritual authorities. The debates ignited during his reign resonated throughout the Middle Ages, shaping the discourse on governance and ecclesiastical influence in European history. Furthermore, Henry II's reign serves as a case study in the complexities of medieval kingship. His successes and failures illuminate the dynamic interplay between personal leadership, institutional frameworks, and the broader socio-political context. As both a reformer and a ruler, Henry grappled with the constraints of his time while leaving a legacy that continues to inform our understanding of power and governance. Henry II's enduring legacy. The reign of Henry II represents a transformative epoch in English and European history. His achievements in restoring royal authority, pioneering legal reforms, and establishing the Angevin Empire reflect his vision and capability as a ruler. Simultaneously, his struggles, whether with the church, his family, or the inherent challenges of governing a vast and heterogeneous domain, underscore the inherent tensions of medieval kingship. The themes of his reign, the pursuit of justice, the consolidation of authority, the intricacies of familial and dynastic politics, and the aspiration to create a lasting legacy, resonate through centuries. Henry II's life offers profound insights into the exercise of power, the fragility of political constructs, and the enduring impact of innovative governance. As a monarch who redefined his world, Henry's legacy continues to inspire and challenge interpretations of medieval kingship and its far-reaching implications for the development of statecraft and law. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066 for more journeys back to the Middle Ages. Stay curious.